Hello everybody, this is Monstertaming Bisloba coming at you with another Kindred Fates tier list video. This is more of an update than a whole tier list in itself. As you can see, I've added together the new abilities, or the other abilities that I had missed last time. So this is going to be a part 2. Now the wiki is up. It was much easier to find these abilities and remind myself that I had missed them. And also a special thank you to Andrew, who pointed out the vast majority of these abilities that I missed, and the rest I just kind of went through the list of abilities and compared it to what I already had. So, without further ado, let us get started. First off, we have Hook. Hook is probably going to go into the upper C tier. It's probably better than Wither, but I can't imagine Hook being good for many situations besides maybe Salamander or someone else who can maybe do a quick burst melee damage, but the Hook really works well because it's on Salamander. Um, Like if I had Hook on Ember, that wouldn't really help. If I had Hook on Lumala, that wouldn't really help. If I had Hook on Slifer, that wouldn't really help. If I had Hook on Mechid, let's talk about that. Mechid's the other Mecha type, that might help. It's a little hard to say because we don't really have good melee kin folks right now. And that's why I'm hesitant to put Hook any lower or any higher. But I think it's good. It's probably the best of the C tier moves. It's the best of the niche moves, if you will, because that with Salamander, you can do some good work with Hook. And if that's all it can do right now, then oops, I clicked on the page. That's all it can do right now, then that is all it can do right now. But that is not to say it's bad. I will be interested to see how it works with mechas that get it in the future. Since they're also slow. I mean, like if Mechid had Hook, I'd probably run Hook on Mechid. But that's probably the only other kinfolk I can really think of that I would really like to run Hook on. Maybe Avion using Hook into Escape Draft might be kind of cool. That's technically a combo you could try right now. I don't think you could do that because of the delay in switching, but maybe. Overall, I think it's an alright ability. Reflect. I'm going to put Reflect in the low A tier. Reflect is an incredible move. It can counter most of the most basic moves you're gonna see. Like if you look at the list, almost every move, no, literally no move in A or S can be countered by Reflect. That is one of the reasons why I think they're so good, is because they can't be countered by Reflect. Now you look down here, you see other moves. All the basic attacks down in D tier can be reflected. Fling can be reflected. Fireball can be reflected. I don't know if Twister can be reflected, but Hook can even be reflected. Reflect is so good because that it can shut down an opponent. Oh yeah, homing shot can be reflected. That's the big one because it's really easy to see coming. It does quite a bit of damage when you reflect it back at somebody. Reflect just shuts down ranged characters really hard. And the only real way you can hit a reflect user is by baiting out their reflect or by just using AoEs on them, which most of the time they're going to be playing a Lumala with a Reflect, or heck, even if Mechid has Reflect, those are really annoying kinfolk to deal with. Mechid's already kind of annoying and hard to hit from being small, so that'll make him even more annoying to hit because of Reflect, and then Lumala is just really hard to kill, so this makes him even harder. Stuff like that makes it so that I think Reflect is the A tier. I don't think Reflect will be changing anytime soon. Maybe if I could see if melee characters become a lot more prevalent, counter would probably move to B and reflect would probably fall to B, and then they could probably like find equilibrium there. But I think it's pretty solid as it stands right now. Rockwall, I was thinking about it for a little bit, and I had some people talk to me about it and say a couple things about it, and I think I'm going to put it top of D tier. It is probably better than these basic attacks. Like if I had an option to give Shovel at one of these basic attacks for some strange reason, or give him Rockwall, I'd probably give him Rockwall. Rockwall can block attacks for you. It can boost you out of stuff like quicksand. It can maybe give you a chance to rest if you're on a map like Caverns or Ruins. It's kind of like a worse version of Wicked Thorn in a way. And overall, it's not great, but it's probably better than most moves in the D tier, at least. So, with that being said, let's move on to Thunderclap. Thunderclap. Where am I going to put Thunderclap? I think I'll put Thunderclap here. It's also going to be relatively high C tier. Thunderclap is incredible damage, but you leave yourself vulnerable for so long, and it's pretty easy to see it coming. Most people are able to reflect it, dodge it, or shield it. It overall feels like a much more clunky version of Righteous Light, and Righteous Light is already not wonderful. Like, it's, you have to be very careful with it, but Thunderclap is even more situational because you have to charge it for a while to make it useful. And with Avion in particular, you don't want to be caught and, give your opponent a free hit on you. I feel like Thunderclap's not going to work well for most air types because most air types aren't going to really want to sit still for long enough to use it because that really limits their mobility a lot, I think. Alright, Dive Bomb. I'm probably going to put Dive Bomb at the bottom of A tier. The reason I say this is because that Dive Bomb is really, really powerful. It has incredible movement, it has incredible damage, but it's incredibly hard to aim. If you can aim it, and I had people who can aim it pretty well that I fought against, it is a devastating move to be hit by, and it is a really hard move to learn. I won't hold that against it too much, because that I've seen people use it effectively, regularly, unlike Wither. So I will put it in the A tier. Escape Draft, I think we're going to put near the bottom of B tier. It is a pretty strong move, does really good damage, helps you break out of being locked in to switch timers, which is pretty useful. But it's also really, really, really hard to hit, and it's really clunky with how it like makes you sit there for like a second. And because it lets you sit there for like a second, it does leave you a little bit vulnerable, especially if you miss. So that's why I'm putting it in like the lower B tier area. Um, How? How is complicated because how? We'll save how for last. Razorwind. I think I'll put Razorwind just above Rush. It has all the good parts of Rush, but it is a little bit harder to land the consecutive hits of it. But yeah, I think it's basically just a better version of Rush, but not by a great margin. So I'll leave it there. And then How. How teeters for me. It's either going to be C tier or B tier because that on Salamurder it's A tier, but I don't think any other kinfolk without Salamurder's passive would get nearly as much use. Like, if any kinfolk in the game had it besides Salamurder, it would be like upper C. Salamurder, I would probably put it somewhere like right here, but on anyone else, it'd be right here. Because Salamander does double damage and has increased speed when someone's feared. Howl itself does small damage. It's not like negligible like a debuff, but its damage is very small. Its range is very small. And the fear effect itself is not incredibly useful. It's not quite long enough to be useful. Like, you can't really pull off a buff while they're feared. It's not that long. Like, I mean, if you increase the timer by like 1 or 2 seconds, you could probably do something really bad, like buff and then switch into someone, then hit someone, or something like that. So that might be too much, but right now it's in a really weird position. I think a very slight increase to the fear duration would probably make it better. Um, and probably upgrade it to something like a B tier because you could maybe use it, fear someone, get buffs out, and you actually be able to do something. But as it stands right now, Salamurder, I think, is going to be the only person who's going to make regular use out of this outside of niche cases where like someone's getting too. It might be like a good like fire spin. Yeah, it might be kind of like fire spin, like a worse version of fire spin in a way. Um, mm, I don't know. Because fire spin does some pretty good damage and gives knockback. This makes him run away. Ah, I'm not sure. It's very hard to say. I'm very hesitantly going to put it in low B tier. If you use it like a fire spin, depending on the kind of kinfolk you are, it might be A tier, possibly. Oh, this ability is going to drive me crazy. I'm going to put it right here, where I think it is for Salamander. And then I think it could be something similar if used correctly by another kinfolk. Um, yeah, I think it's probably going to be similar to Fire Spin if you use it right, but that only is going to apply to a kinfolk who is ranged because you don't want, because a melee kinfolk is not going to get a lot of use out of Howl because you have to get way too close to work. It's like a good defense mechanism unless you have some way to bring them to you, like with Hook. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, reluctantly placed, and I'm gonna put the disclaimer that Howl is probably the most volatile, depending on the kinfolk that you use, that I've judged in this run at least. But yeah, that finally fixes things up. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. This is Monstertaming signing off. Hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. Bye bye.